And now, to be or not to be. This is not a performance of Hamlet. The actors are not even in much costume or even using makeup. This is call it rather a sort of laboratory demonstration and a discussion of what the character of Hamlet means to the 20th century. This theatrical experiment will be conducted by Mr. Walter Kerr, the dramatic critic of the New York Herald Tribune, and he will be aided and abetted by the Canadian Players, who are a very lively offshoot of the Stratford, Ontario festival, which has become such an annual event. We welcome them across the border as envoys of a good neighbor policy in the arts that there should be much more action about and much less talk. So I'm going to turn you over to Mr. Kerr, and the Canadian Players will begin by performing Hamlet, Act 1, Scene 4.
Whither wilt thou lead me? Speak! I go no further.
Ah, me.
I will.
My hour is almost come, when I to sulphurous and tormenting flames must render up myself.
Alas, poor ghost.
Pity me not, but lend thy serious hearing to what I shall unfold.
Speak, I am bound to hear.
So art thou to revenge when thou shalt hear.
What?
I am thy father's spirit. List, list, oh list. If thou didst ever thy dear father love,
Oh God,
revenge his foul and most unnatural murder.
murder!
Murder most foul, as in the best it is, but this most foul, strange, and unnatural.
List me to know it, that I with wings as swift as meditation over thoughts of love may sweep for my revenge.
I found thee apt. Thou, Hamlet, here. 'Tis given out that sleeping in mine orchard a serpent stung me.
That, of course, is the ghost scene from Hamlet. Hamlet, a young university student, has just come home to the family castle at Elsinore to discover that his father, the king, is dead, and that his mother has rather too hastily married his uncle, Claudius. Hearing that a ghost has been seen walking the castle ramparts, he has hurried to find out whose ghost this may be. It's a familiar scene. It's been a familiar scene for about 350 years now. It's just about 350 years since Shakespeare wrote the play, and it's impressive to think of generation after generation all going to see the same play. But of course, they haven't been seeing the same play. Actually, we have no way of knowing precisely what the first audience, the Elizabethan audience, may have seen in the theater. For one thing, we have 3 different scripts of the play published in Shakespeare's time or shortly thereafter, and they don't agree in all particulars. Some of the differences are major. Furthermore, we don't know that any one of them may have served as an actual prompt text for a performance at the Globe Theatre, the theater in which Shakespeare's plays were first presented. We don't really know too much about the Globe Theatre itself. We have a general idea that most of it was an extended platform that came right out into the middle of the theater, in the middle of the audience, that the actors acted on the platform, but we don't really know precisely how they made their entrances and exits, whether they played in a small inner stage curtained off or on a balcony. And worst of all, we have no acting tradition of the play. We haven't the faintest notion how Richard Burbage, who first created the part, may have played it on the stage. Unfortunately, all theaters in London were closed tight for 18 years during the Puritan regime. All acting companies were disbanded, and therefore all acting traditions were lost. And, again, unfortunately, there were no kindly critics to record in elaborate and loving detail what Burbage may have done. Therefore, we are surrounded by ignorance. The one thing we do know is that we have added to the play since. As our physical theaters have changed, as our tastes have changed, as our notions of what constitutes human psychology have changed, we must have made differences in the play. And this afternoon, what we're going to do in this Hamlet laboratory of ours is explore a few of the differences that we may have made. For instance, though we don't know precisely how much scenery Shakespeare may have had, we're terribly certain he didn't have as much as we do. And in this ghost scene that we've been looking at, he probably didn't have that vast amount of mist that you've seen shrouding the ghost. He probably didn't have those vast battlements that separate Hamlet and the ghost, making the ghost a remote and unearthly, mysterious figure, a supernatural figure as against Hamlet, the natural man. We know that Shakespeare didn't have our lighting equipment. The plays were played in the afternoon, out in the open, in an unroofed theater, with the hot sun blazing down, or with that faint drizzle that passes for a hot sun in England. And without all of our modern trappings, the scene may once have looked something like this.
Whither wilt thou lead me? Speak! I'll go no further.
Mark me.
I will.
My hour is almost come, when I to sulphurous and tormenting flames must render up myself.
Alas, poor ghost.
Pity me not, but lend thy serious hearing to what I shall unfold.
Speak, I am bound to hear.
So art thou to revenge when thou shalt hear.
What?
I am thy father's spirit. Oh, list, list, oh, list. If thou didst ever thy dear father love,
Oh, God.
revenge his foul and most unnatural murder. Murder most foul, as in the best it is, but this most foul, strange, and unnatural.
Me to know it that I, with wings as swift as meditation over thoughts of love, make sweep to my revenge.
I find thee apt. Now, Hamlet, here. 'Tis given out that sleeping in mine orchard a serpent stung me. But know, thou noble youth, the serpent that did sting thy father's life now wears his crown.
Oh, my prophetic soul, my uncle.
Aye, that incestuous, that adulterous beast, won to his shameful lust the will of my most seeming virtuous queen. Oh, Hamlet, thus was I by a brother's hand of life, of crown, of queen at once dispatched, cut off even in the blossoms of my sin, no reckoning made, but sent to my account with all my imperfections on my head. If thou hast nature in thee, bear it not. Let not the royal bed of Denmark be a couch of luxury and damned incest. But howsoever thou pursuest thy act, taint not thy mind, nor let thy soul contrive against thy mother aught. Leave her to heaven, and to the thorns that in her bosom lodge to prick and sting her. Hamlet, fare thee well. Adieu. Adieu, Hamlet. Remember me. Oh, hosts of heaven, oh, earth, remember thee.
Yea, from the table of my memory I wipe away all trivial fond record, and thy commandment all alone shall live within the book and volume of my brain, unmixed with baser matter. Oh, most pernicious woman! Oh, villain! Villain! Smiling, damned villain! Not my word. It is adieu, adieu, remember me. I have sworn.
Now, you may have noticed that the difference here is not just a difference of window dressing. Something has begun to happen to the characters, too. Once you take the ghost out from under all that mist and that modern lighting and those amplified vocal effects, he tends to become just a little bit more of a man. And as the ghost becomes more a man, he also becomes more Hamlet's father. This has an effect on Hamlet, too. He has now been in somewhat more intimate, somewhat more personal contact with a man whom he has loved, whom he has idealized. He's felt him suffer. He has shared his anguish. And this has the effect of spurring Hamlet on, of driving him, of perhaps increasing his determination, whipping him to a pitch of excitement that is almost a frenzy.
My lord! My lord! Lord Hamlet! Heaven preserve so be it. Hello, hello!
Hilly ho, ho, boy, come, bird, come.
How is my noble lord?
What news?
Wonderful.
Good, my lord, tell it.
No, you reveal it.
Not I, my lord, by heaven. Not I, my lord.
Never make known what you have seen tonight.
My lord, we will not.
But swear it.
Not I, my lord, in faith. Not I, my lord, in faith.
On my sword.
We have sworn, my
Agreed
lord.
upon my sword, indeed.
Boy, taste thy soul. Art thou there, true penny?
Come. You hear this fellow in the cellarage? Consent to swear.
My lord, propose the oath.
Never to speak of this that you have seen. Swear by my sword.
Swear by his sword.
Hic et ubique.
Then we'll shift the ground. Come hither, gentlemen, and lay your hands again upon my sword. Never to speak of this that you have heard. Swear by my sword.
Well said, old mole. Canst work of the earth so fast, a worthy pioneer.
Once more remove, good friend.
Say a knight, but this is wondrous
And
strange.
ever as a stranger give it welcome. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. But come, here as before. Never, so help you mercy. How the strange swear I bear myself, as I perchance hereafter shall think me to put an antic disposition on, that you, at such times being near, never shall, with arms encumbered thus, or this head shake, or bold pronouncement of some doubtful phrase, or some ambiguous giving out to note that you know of me. This not to do, as grace and mercy at your most need help you. Swear!
Swear!
Rest!
Swear!
Rest! Perturbed spirit. Come, gentlemen, let us go in together, and still your fingers to your lips, I pray. The time is out of joint. Oh, cursed spite that ever I was born to set it right. Come, let's go together.
Now, that is quite an excitable young man. A man who means business and who means to get about it with some dispatch.